When Judge Harold Whitaker mocked Elon Musk in court, the room fell silent. The billionaire CEO, known for his sharp wit and unshakable confidence, didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned into the microphone and delivered a response so unexpected, so brilliantly calculated, that it left the judge, and everyone else in the courtroom, completely speechless. What happened next was a masterclass in turning the tables, proving that even the most powerful figures can be humbled. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a clash of egos, and Elon Musk walked away with the upper hand. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anticipation. Reporters lined the walls, their cameras trained on the defendant's table where Elon Musk sat, his expression calm but unreadable. The billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX was no stranger to legal battles, but this case was different. It wasn't about patents or contracts, it was about reputation. The lawsuit had been filed by a former employee who claimed Musk had made defamatory statements about him during a press conference. The case had dragged on for months, with both sides trading barbs in the media. But now, it was finally going to trial. At the center of it all sat Judge Harold Whitaker, a man known for his sharp tongue and no-nonsense demeanor. Whitaker had a reputation for being tough on defendants, especially high-profile ones. He believed in running his courtroom with an iron fist, and he wasn't about to let Musk's fame or fortune sway him. As the hearing began, Whitaker leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Musk. "Mr. Musk," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm, "I assume you're prepared to answer for your actions today. Or should we expect another one of your infamous Twitter rants?" The room erupted into murmurs. Musk's lawyer, a seasoned attorney named Sarah Collins, shot to her feet. "Your Honor, that's highly inappropriate." Whitaker held up a hand, cutting her off. "Save it, Ms. Collins. I'm not interested in your theatrics. Let's get to the point." Musk, for his part, remained calm. He adjusted his tie, his eyes never leaving the judge. "I'm here to answer any questions you have, Your Honor," he said, his voice steady. Whitaker smirked. "Oh, I'm sure you are. But let's be real, Mr. Musk, this isn't your first rodeo. You've been in and out of courtrooms for years, always managing to come out on top. But not this time." The tension in the room was palpable. Whitaker's words were a direct challenge, and everyone knew it. Musk's reputation was on the line, and the judge seemed determined to make an example of him. As the hearing progressed, Whitaker continued to needle Musk, his comments growing more pointed with each passing minute. "Tell me, Mr. Musk," he said at one point, "do you ever stop to think about the consequences of your actions? Or are you so used to getting your way that you think the rules don't apply to you?" Musk's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Instead, he turned to Collins, who was furiously scribbling notes. "We need to do something," she whispered. "He's trying to provoke you." Musk nodded, his mind racing. He knew Whitaker was trying to rattle him, to throw him off balance. But Musk wasn't about to let that happen. The breaking point came when Whitaker made a particularly cutting remark about Musk's handling of Tesla's production issues. "It's no wonder your company is in trouble," the judge said, his tone mocking. "With leadership like yours, it's a miracle you're still in business." The room fell silent. Even the reporters stopped typing, their eyes darting between Musk and the judge. For a moment, it seemed like Musk might lose his cool. But then, he did something no one expected. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights. All eyes were on Elon Musk as he leaned forward, his hands resting on the table in front of him. Judge Whitaker's mocking comment about Tesla's production issues still hung in the air, a challenge waiting to be answered. For a moment, Musk said nothing. He simply looked at Whitaker, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, he stood up. "Your Honor," he began, his voice calm but firm. "With all due respect, I'd like to address your comments." Whitaker raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by Musk's response. "Go ahead, Mr. Musk," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Enlighten us." Musk took a deep breath, his mind racing. He knew this was a risky move. Judges didn't take kindly to defendants speaking out of turn, but he also knew he couldn't let Whitaker's insults go unanswered. You mentioned Tesla's production issues, Musk said, his voice steady. What you didn't mention is that we've overcome those issues. In fact, Tesla is now one of the most successful car manufacturers in the world. We've created thousands of jobs, revolutionized the auto industry, and helped reduce carbon emissions on a global scale. But I don't expect you to know that, Your Honor, because you're not an engineer. You're not an entrepreneur. You're a judge. The room erupted into murmurs. Whitaker's face turned red, his composure slipping. Mr. Musk, he said, his voice sharp. You are out of line. Am I? Musk shot back, his tone still calm but laced with defiance. Because it seems to me that you're the one who's out of line. You've been mocking me since this hearing began, making personal attacks instead of focusing on the facts of the case. That's not justice, Your Honor. That's bias. Whitaker slammed his gavel, the sound echoing through the room. Enough! He shouted. Sit down, Mr. Musk, or I'll hold you in contempt. Musk didn't move. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. It was a smartphone, its screen glowing as he tapped a few buttons. What are you doing? Whitaker demanded, his voice rising. I'm showing you something, Musk replied, his tone calm but firm. He turned the phone around, revealing a live video feed. This is a live stream from one of Tesla's factories. As you can see, production is running smoothly. We're on track to meet our goals, despite the challenges we've faced. But you wouldn't know that, would you, because you've already made up your mind about me? The room fell silent again, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Whitaker stared at the screen, his face a mask of disbelief. Your Honor, Musk continued, I'm not here to defend my reputation. I'm here to defend the truth. And the truth is, you've been unfair to me from the start. You've let your personal biases cloud your judgment, and that's not just a disservice to me, it's a disservice to everyone in this courtroom. Whitaker's jaw tightened, his hands gripping the edge of the bench. Mr. Musk, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You are dangerously close to crossing a line. I'm already past it, Musk replied, his tone unwavering. And if holding me in contempt is the price I have to pay for speaking the truth, then so be it. The room erupted into chaos. Reporters scrambled to capture the moment, their cameras flashing as Whitaker banged his gavel, calling for order. Bailiff! Whitaker shouted. Escort Mr. Musk out of the courtroom. The bailiff hesitated, clearly unsure of how to handle the situation. Musk, for his part, remained calm. He set the phone down on the table and turned to face Whitaker. I'll leave, he said, his voice steady. But before I do, I want you to remember this moment. Because one day, when this case is over and the truth comes out, you're going to realize that you were wrong. And when that day comes, I hope you have the courage to admit it. With that, Musk turned and walked out of the courtroom, his head held high. The room was silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, the murmurs began again, the reporters whispering to each other as they tried to make sense of what had just happened. Whitaker, meanwhile, sat frozen on the bench, his face a mask of anger and disbelief. He had never been challenged like this before, and it was clear he didn't know how to handle it. Court is adjourned, he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. As the room began to empty, Sarah Collins approached the bench. Your Honor, she said, her tone respectful but firm. I'd like to file a motion to recuse yourself from this case. Whitaker's eyes narrowed. On what grounds? On the grounds that you've demonstrated a clear bias against my client, Collins replied. Your comments today were inappropriate and unprofessional, and they've compromised the integrity of this trial. Whitaker's face turned red, but he didn't respond. Instead, he simply stood up and walked out of the room, leaving Collins and the rest of the courtroom in stunned silence. The fallout from the courtroom confrontation was immediate. Within hours, videos of Elon Musk's bold stand against Judge Whitaker had gone viral. News outlets picked up the story, with headlines like, Elon Musk clashes with judge in explosive courtroom showdown, and Musk's fiery defense leaves courtroom in chaos. Social media exploded with reactions, with many praising Musk for his courage and others criticizing him for defying the judge. For Musk, the attention was both a blessing and a burden. He had achieved what he set out to do, expose the bias in the courtroom, but he knew the fight was far from over. The case was still ongoing, and Whitaker's recusal was far from guaranteed. Meanwhile, Judge Whitaker found himself under intense scrutiny. Legal experts weighed in on his conduct, with many calling for an investigation into his behavior. The State Judicial Review Board quickly launched an inquiry, and Whitaker was placed on temporary leave pending the outcome. As the days passed, the case took an unexpected turn. The plaintiff, the former employee who had filed the lawsuit against Musk, began to have second thoughts. He had initially believed his case was strong, but after witnessing Musk's confrontation with Whitaker, he started to question whether he was being used as a pawn in a larger game. One evening, as Musk was preparing for the next hearing, he received a call from Sarah Collins. "Elon," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "You're not going to believe this. The plaintiff wants to settle." Musk raised an eyebrow. "Settle? Why the sudden change of heart?" "I think your little stunt in the courtroom had something to do with it," Collins replied. "He's realized that this case isn't just about him anymore. It's about something much bigger." Musk nodded, a sense of relief washing over him. "What are the terms?" "He's willing to drop the lawsuit in exchange for a public apology and a small settlement," Collins explained. "It's a win-win. You get to put this behind you, and he gets to save face." Musk considered the offer for a moment. He had never been one to back down from a fight, but he also knew that sometimes, the best way to win was to walk away. "Let's do it," he said finally. "But I want the apology to be genuine. No half measures." Collins agreed, and the settlement was finalized within days. The plaintiff issued a public statement, apologizing for the misunderstanding and praising Musk for his contributions to the tech industry. Musk, in turn, released a statement of his own, thanking the plaintiff for his understanding and reaffirming his commitment to innovation and progress. But the story didn't end there. The fallout from the case had far-reaching implications, not just for Musk but for the legal system as a whole. Whitaker's behavior had exposed a troubling pattern of bias and misconduct, and it sparked a nationwide conversation about judicial accountability. In the weeks that followed, several other cases presided over by Whitaker were reopened, with new evidence suggesting that his rulings had been influenced by personal biases. The Judicial Review Board launched a full-scale investigation, and Whitaker was eventually removed from the bench. For Musk, the experience was a turning point. He had always been a fighter, but this case had shown him the importance of standing up for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you. One evening, as he sat in his office at SpaceX, Musk reflected on the events of the past few months. He had faced one of the toughest challenges of his career, but he had come out stronger on the other side. His phone buzzed, pulling him out of his thoughts. It was a text from Sarah Collins. "You did it," it read. "You stood up to the system and won. Not many people can say that." Musk smiled, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. He had always believed in the power of innovation, but now he realized that true progress wasn't just about technology, it was about people. As he looked out at the stars through the window of his office, Musk felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight wasn't over, but he was ready for whatever came next. The story of Elon Musk's courtroom showdown is more than just a legal drama. It's a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up for what's right, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Musk's bold confrontation with Judge Whitaker didn't just change the outcome of a single case. It sparked a nationwide conversation about justice, accountability, and the power of truth. For Musk, the experience was a testament to the strength of his convictions. He had always been a disruptor, challenging the status quo and pushing boundaries in every industry he touched. But this time, he wasn't fighting for innovation or profit. He was fighting for fairness. And in doing so, he reminded us all that even the most powerful systems can be held accountable. For Judge Whitaker, the fallout was a humbling lesson in the consequences of unchecked power. His removal from the bench served as a stark reminder that no one is above the law, and that justice must always be impartial. But the story doesn't end with them. It's a call to action for all of us. It challenges us to question authority, to demand transparency, and to never lose sight of the values that define us. Because, as Musk showed, real change doesn't come from silence, it comes from the courage to stand up and make a difference. As Musk often says, the future belongs to those who believe in the power of their dreams. And in standing up to Judge Whittaker, he proved that the future also belongs to those who believe in the power of truth. So the next time you find yourself facing a challenge, remember Elon Musk's story. Remember that even the smallest act of courage can have a ripple effect, changing lives and shaping the world in ways you never imagined.